Have you ever thought, like, I need to go find myself? I've been through that
Mm.
already. I know who I am, but I kept letting her go. I kept pushing her to the back. I kept leaving
Mm.
her ass behind.
Hola, you are listening to First Gen Healing, a podcast on Latinx healing and awakening journeys. My name is Priscila Luna, and I am your intuitive prima. And I'm so excited because we have a beautiful guest. If you guys are not watching the video version of this, she has beautiful, luscious pink hair. But Miriam, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited for this, by the way.
Yay! All
Yay!
right. So let's see. I want to start off with asking you, because we're going to dive into your story, your journey, but what is something that is coming up for you right now?
Right now, oh Lord, it's been a lot of unlearning, which was why I was so attracted to the theme of your podcast. It's unlearning
Mm,
a lot of things that we grow up thinking we should do or should be. I just
yeah.
completed my doctorate this past spring. So just need to finish my
Congratulations.
edits. Thank you. So, Doctora Martinez here,
Woo!
in education.
In
In
education,
education,
okay.
yes. This was what I wanted to do for me. So as soon as I'm done
Okay.
with my edits, I can publish. And that's a long process. Like this process was so draining. It saw me through my third child, a divorce, moving, and then another relationship that absolutely went south unexpectedly. So I would say that what's
Mm,
coming up for me has been just returning to myself. That's
okay.
what I'm calling this chapter of my life, is just returning to myself.
Ooh. Have you had other chapters that were similar, or is this one completely different?
They were similar and different because when I started the doctoral program, I got my acceptance letter, and then I found out I was pregnant with my third daughter. So you have everything you've worked for at that point. My partner, my ex husband, and I had been married for, I don't know, like 7 years, been together for almost 10 at
Mm,
that point. So
mm,
then when I decided that divorce was for me, it was very unexpected because it started out as a great uncoupling and things just went very south. That chapter was definitely hard because it was making that decision of what was best for me and my mental health. So in a way, it was
okay.
very similar, but circumstances were different.
But different.
That's a
Okay,
good
got it.
question. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about that, like I think sometimes we think like these phases are one and done, right? And I don't know why when you said it, I pictured like different versions of you coming back to yourself. So that's why I was like, let me
Stop.
ask.
Yes. No, but really, it is because of that. Because it's like, have you ever thought, like, I need to go find myself? I've been through that
Mm,
already. I know who I am, but I kept letting her go. I kept pushing her to the back. I kept leaving
mm,
her ass behind. And
okay,
finally, I'm
yeah.
like, no, 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 no. Like, this is me having to return to myself and being okay with the different versions of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and especially like in the spiritual realm, like we believe that we have shadow sides, right? We're not always
Mm-hmm.
happy and cheery. And I had to be okay with that. And that's something that honestly growing up, it was always repressed. Like, oh, don't get
Ooh,
angry. Don't be
yeah.
too much. You're too
Mm-hmm.
assertive. So,
Okay. Yeah. It's like reclaiming those parts of us that we think,
yes,
yeah, needs
yes,
to be set to the side. Okay. Got it.
absolutely.
Okay. So that's a beautiful way to start today's episode. And I know, there were different themes that as I was reading your story kind of stood out, but I kind of want to let you lead us, right, into what feels good, like what feels like a good starting point.
I'd say the here and the now. Like, I'm okay with where I am now. And
Mhm.
it's come through literally blood, sweat, and tears.
Mm,
But people need to be okay with where they are now because you have to accept everything that's happened to you, everything you've done. Because then right now it's like, okay, what are you going to do?
Since you mentioned the now, hearing your story, you have 3 children, you had a divorce, you maybe found love again, it didn't go well. So it seems like maybe you had a lot of starts and endings, right? Like beginnings and endings kind of in a close loop. How does one reclaim those false starts and ends, or those beginnings and endings, and become okay with that?
Thank you to my therapist, by the way. A very
Mm.
special shout out. Let me tell you, her name is Michelle Robles. And thanks to my school through the University of Redlands, we had where we can do like online therapy.
Okay.
This lady got me through the roughest patch of my life. And I'm going to say that because with my marriage, and I don't know if you've ever experienced a relationship loss where women will mourn the loss of the relationship during the relationship. It's not just
Okay.
one thing.
No.
Um, when you're uncoupling with my ex-husband and I, it was so many things that had been adding up, and my personality being stifled because I'm too much. We're different ethnicities. His
Mm,
family was very negatively involved in our relationship. I was too much. I'm tatted. I'm brown, but I'm educated. So it's like,
mhm,
okay, I grew up very poor, um, but I'm self-made in essence, right? So
mhm.
for me, I mourned like the loss of my marriage when, in the ending stages, COVID hit. We still lived together. We had what I thought was going to be a great relationship, uncoupling and moving forward.
Okay.
Um,
Like in the
that
sense
changed
that
drastically.
maybe it was supposed to be amicable and we're both on the same
Yes.
page.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Like it was, we had this discussion, we cried it out, we ordered pizza, we were still getting
Mm,
along great. He had asked me not to date for a couple of months because, he was hurt, and I was like, that's fine. I'm not leaving you for anyone else. It's just that you and I are on separate paths. We have 3 daughters. Let's do the best. I even worked on his resume for him, helping him get like a great job. Um, and so when things went south, it was very, very, very hurtful and traumatic. And
mhm,
that's a whole story for another time.
mm,
Um, and so with that loss, at that point, I had to go looking for who I was because I had lost my identity. I
mhm.
grew up, wasn't even sure that I wanted marriage or kids, to be honest.
Okay.
And even if
Mhm,
you were to ask people from my college days, they'd be like, "Oh my God, like she's a B, or she might have been too much, or she's too caring, too loving, the guardian." Because I've I'm the youngest of 4 siblings, and this is gonna play because
youngest of four.
we have role reversal in my family, where
Okay.
I was the first to graduate high school and go to college, even though I am the youngest.
Mm, mhm.
And so I kind of was the one that was left behind, like kind of taking care of my mom for a while and like her needs. When I went to college, my mom wasn't very supportive of me going to college.
Really?
Um,
Wow.
she wanted me to stay local, and that I wanted to get the hell
Mm,
away. I needed to. So,
mhm.
when I graduated high school, who was I? I became a college student, completely immersed in that, and I lived it up. When I graduated, I was a little lost, okay, gotta get my fitting back in. Then when I became a wife, I really became a wife, like supporting my ex-husband, going through it. Then I became a mom. So then I fully became a mom. And I
Mhm.
realized I had lost, by the time I was in the divorce process and like that whole separation, I didn't know who I was. Like really, like Miriam didn't know. She was just a mom of 3 girls with now a failed marriage.
Mm, mhm.
And I was in my doctoral program. It's COVID.
Before we like move into the next part, what is it?
Mhm.
What is it? Can you describe that feeling of like not knowing who you are?
Ah, man, I didn't realize. Okay, so let me rephrase that. It took me getting postpartum depression with my third daughter to realize I literally would look around and like, I'm taking care of everyone else. Who's taking care of me? So I
Mm,
felt very
okay.
alone. So I would say that I
Mhm.
felt alone, not necessarily isolated, very misunderstood. Very misunderstood. So then as some of that fog is lifting and you realize like I'm screaming for help and no one could hear me. That is the best way that I can
Mm,
describe it. that I could be in a room full of people screaming and no one saw me. I felt
Mm.
invisible. That so, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
and so I had to be like, I had to be okay with girl with even spending money on myself.
Mm,
Like
mhm,
like
mhm.
like going to get my nails done again. And then I noticed, like, as the separation was going, it's COVID. I just started doing my makeup at home. It's not that we were going anywhere, but
Yeah.
I love doing my makeup, and it was just finding those little pieces of who you are and bringing them back into your life and being like, is this still me? And I was realizing, no, like, that's
Mm.
still part of me. I love color, hence the hair. I
Mhm.
love makeup. Um, I love Disneyland. So it was just those. I'm huge into sports also, and it was the little things that I was grasping for dear life. Like, I'm going to go to the Dodger game because that's what I want to do. I don't have
Mhm.
to ask for permission. I don't have to feel guilty spending money when most of the relationship I was the breadwinner.
Mm. Okay,
So,
so it's like
girl,
reclaiming. Yeah.
like,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
So you were letting, it seems like you recognized that you had let go of maybe agency over your own self. Um,
agency. There was no self. That
mm,
literally, like, so it wasn't even like, uh, yes, I let go of the agency, but it was Miriam was no longer Miriam. She was every other role but Miriam. She
okay.
was the wife. She was the mom. The
Yeah.
breadwinner. I was the
When you
counselor at the time.
when you look back, do you think it happened over time? Like, do you think it started off as a noble act, right? Like, I'm a good wife and I become a good wife. I'm a good mom, I become a good mom. And then that somehow turned into like you losing yourself. Like, how does that happen to someone to start letting go of parts of themselves and then need to reclaim them?
Exactly how you said it. It happened over time. I took my roles very seriously because growing up, my parents were divorced, and my mom was very hyper independent. Like, this woman learned how
Mm,
to do her oil changes, learned how to, like, build an extra room in a house. So I was given that example. Like, no one was coming to save my mom. Like, yes, like my uncle, like my Theo did help, but he lived not close to us. So
mhm,
for me, it was like, because I didn't envision myself having like that marriage and children, I
mhm.
really, really immersed myself into, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. Like, let's do this. And part of that was also like being career focused, that like, well, my job is what's paying the bills. So let me make sure that I'm really good at my job.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so when you're everything else, you really are giving because you buy into this idea that and here's where I believe you may relate to this, or other Hispanic or Latinos, is that like, we are fixers.
Mhm,
And for
mhm.
me growing up, I was the fixer. And I
Okay.
still am. Like, Lord, I still am in very many ways. And
Yeah,
that's an unlearning I have had to do.
I see. Yeah, and then, like maybe it's connecting some dots, like when you were growing up, you said you were taking care of your mom. So maybe there was like a codependency or a meshment there, right? When you said, for
Yeah.
example, what stood out, that she didn't want you to go far, which is something that I think, like you said, some people may be able to relate to, is a veces como our family brings us here or we're here and we have these wings and they cut them themselves. It's like,
See,
nope, don't go too far or go too
yeah,
big or don't dream too, yeah.
that one. Quieren que salgas adelante, pero tienes que estar en la casa. Like, you can succeed, but I want you here. So I grew up in a town called Needles. Again, that's a whole other episode if you're ever curious as to
Okay.
why we left the Inland Empire to go to Needles. Thank my older sister for that one. But my mom was trying to raise us in a safe environment. Okay, so where Needles is, it's about an hour and a half away from Vegas. So my second
Okay.
sister and my brother ended up moving to Vegas, and then I don't know where my oldest sister was at the time. Like, we'll call her Carmen San Diego right now because she moved a whole bunch of places for a while.
Okay.
So I was the last one left right at home. So my mom just really, and she tried to control me too much. That was the problem, is que con nosotros no pudo. And so for me, she was hyper controlling. But I also,
Okay.
I'm an Aries. My mom's an Aries. I'm an Aries. We would butt heads. But I was the type of person that was like, I'm not doing anything wrong. So why are you putting this on me? So the more she tried
Mm-hmm.
to hold me in, the more I was determined that I was going to sew those wings that she had clipped. I didn't care. I was about to jump from the top of the tower, like, and we were just going to pray that I land safely. And it's just that mentality that you feel so stifled. They want you to succeed. My
Mm-hmm.
mom wanted me to succeed, pero
Yeah.
no quería que me fuera de la casa.
Yeah. Do you think for her it was like safety, companionship, like looking back, what do you think made her want to keep you at an arm's length?
She didn't want me to be like my siblings.
Oh, okay.
She
So
didn't she
maybe
didn't want
some
me to be like
fear.
them. Yes.
Mm,
So definitely
okay.
fear. Um, that idea that like being like a 3.5 hour drive from home was too dangerous, maybe. Um,
Mm,
she grew up in she was born in Sonora, and so she grew up in Mexicali. So back then I don't know that she experienced actually going to college to live in a dorm.
right.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? So I was going to be living
Yeah.
in the dorm. On the other side, my father, who I didn't have a relationship with, he did study at the university and lived and traveled.
Mm,
So I think that had my parents still been together, he would have been understanding of my need to go. But my
I
mom
see.
was like, no, like you stay at the house. And which I laughed because I was like, my siblings didn't do that.
Was there like a little bit of Marianismo machismo in there of like you're meant to be a wife with kids or no?
She knew that I wanted to like have a career. So my mom, in that sense, like she did encourage that. Like I started working at a very young age. I took auto shop. Like she would teach me things like about cars and stuff like that. So for me, no. But on
Okay.
the flip side, on the flip side, my brother, the only male in the house, was coddled. So and
Okay.
I've met a lot of first generation families or
Yeah.
mexicoamericanos que se vienen de acá y que los hombres no hacen nada y son las mujeres.
Mhm. Yeah.
To his defense though, he did learn to cook and clean. He was independent, but my mom coddled him
Okay.
very much.
So maybe not spoken, but by example, you did also see that, like, she maybe embodied a little bit of that Marianismo machismo, but it wasn't like put
Yes.
onto you. Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay. And then from you mentioned like, there was your Aries spirit. It was like I'm going to pull away. I'm going to do my own thing and go to college. Did you have like friends that were doing that too that supported you? Like what also kind of carried you through into that chapter if it wasn't from home? Because I have a different story where like I was kind of like my whole life it was like you're going to go to college. You're going to go to college, right? And so like there it was already lined up for me. So I was almost just following suit as opposed to being like I'm going to do it, you know?
Oh man. So I invite you to look up Needles one day. Que puedas,
Okay.
okay? Needles, I think, is a town about 6,000 people.
Oh, tiny. Okay.
It's a tiny teenage pregnancy rates. I think we're pretty high for that area. Or you don't go to college, you marry the high school sweetheart, y tienen el negocio, y
Mm,
se van al río todo el día, or whatever, right?
mm.
Honestly, I could say that I learned from example, meaning, and this is no talking shit to my siblings. I didn't want to be like them. I
Okay.
did not.
Mhm.
I've always been the bookworm, always, always. When I got to high
Mm.
school, my counselor told me, she's like, "You're gonna go to college." I'm like, "Lady, I'm low income. How?" She was like, "You're gonna go to college."
Mm.
She put me in all the right classes. Okay, I was tutoring as a freshman, like I was tutoring upperclassmen. Um, I would say that my school support was amazing.
Wow. Okay.
My English teacher or the softball coach, even my driver's ed coach. or the driver's ed teacher, like it's a small town. So ironically, it was the mom and the husband and then their daughter. Like they
Oh,
were my
okay.
mentors. They were all educators, right? So
Wow. Yeah.
it's really, I was like, no, wait a minute, wait, that's their daughter. So, so I would say that them and my high school counselor, which she's one of the reasons I became a high school counselor because she told me I could
Mm,
do it.
mm-hmm.
They there was this Delulu girl. Mira, cuando te digo que yo no sabía cómo iba a pagar, de dónde iba a salir el dinero, no one knew, but they knew I was going to go to college. Like it was
Wow.
like you
Okay. So
must,
they
you
helped you
will.
manifest.
Like really, like and through all of my classes, like they were just like, okay, what colleges are you applying to? Like this lady literally was like, Miriam, what are we applying to? And I was like, I don't know. Like you told me I was going to college, but you didn't tell me, like, you know what I mean?
There was more than one.
Um, like, and it wasn't even that. It was just like you didn't tell me, like, you didn't sit there and do the applications with me. Like, she just assumed that like I would know how to do it,
Yeah.
um, which was not how it worked. So it was definitely, I will give it to that town and the educators that they told me that I could be anybody, and I really took off and believed it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And once you got to college, because you come from a small town, yeah, and you're like, okay, anything but this, let's say, right? But then you get to college. How was that? Like, what at 20 or
it
what, 18, 19-year-old
18
you, yeah, how was that experience?
18-year-old me was amazed at the privilege that I was surrounded by,
Mm,
because I went to the University of Redlands. The University of Redlands
okay.
is predominantly, it's a private school,
Okay.
and you're surrounded by a lot of wealth, a lot, a lot. Like I'm talking
Mm.
about, this kid had an Escalade or an Audi, and they were just like, oh, that's fine, whatever. If it breaks down or if I crash it, like mommy and daddy will pay for it.
Yeah, this is our
I
ugly
would
car.
right, like, and I was shocked. I'm like, yo, girl did not have a car all through college, but the community that I found helped me because it was almost like, as like lower income kids, like kind of, we grouped together. We kind of like found each other. Like you start to make
Mm,
friends, and not to say that I didn't have friends that were wealthy, because a lot of my friends, my sorority sisters, they might be wealthy, they didn't flaunt it, but it was just it was a culture shock. Here's why: I was, I think, one of three Hispanic families in Needles. When I
okay.
came to
Wow.
Redlands, I believe that the Hispanic Latino population might have been almost even 10% of the school. And
Mm,
that was a
okay.
lot for me. That was a lot
Okay.
for me. And here's the kicker. This is where the ni de aquí ni de allá came in. I wasn't Mexican enough for some people.
Mm,
I was like,
interesting. Okay. Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay, like I've never
Yeah.
heard that before. So
Right.
it was that, and then I was different, of course. Like you start to see like my hair is changing colors. I'm very. They would tell me that I was whitewashed,
Mm,
and I was like,
okay.
okay, well, that's your prerogative. That's your opinion. I grew up,
Yeah.
my mom is from Mexico, and yeah, I know we were very Americanized in some ways, but it didn't make me less, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No,
so
it's
that was
interesting. I'm thinking back, like, because I think growing up, pues, first of all, our frontal lobe is not developed, right? So, como que we're all picking up from where we grew up. So, like, I remember using like, oh, whitewash, but then I was also seen as whitewash sometimes because, or like not Mexican enough, because of the color of my skin. And so they're like, oh, like you don't even look like, you don't even look Mexicana. So whatever, you're not. So like, it's so interesting how entre nosotros, instead of just being like, oh my God, community,
Mhm.
también we create our own division and
No,
our own, like, yeah, other than.
and it starts in the home, because
Mm,
I'm the darkest of my family. So yo era la morenita, la negrita.
mm,
I was the thickest one, right? So la porky, like, you know what I mean? So your family will like give you
wow.
your own, they'd be giving you your own nicknames. And so on one area you're going, you're leaving a place where you've internalized these things,
Mm-hmm.
where in essence I was too dark, too clearly too Mexican looking, right? But then I get to a place where I'm like, I see people like me, but then I'm not enough. So you had to pick and choose
Mm,
like who had like, and I learned that within the first year. Like honestly, by the end of the first year, I knew what clubs and organizations I wanted to be involved in and which ones I had to take a step back because I felt that they had a great idea, a great vision. I just didn't fit that vision, and that was okay. Like
okay, I see. Yeah.
there was no
Okay.
seat at that table for me, and I was okay with that.
So it's interesting because I know, as we go into your story, we're going to talk about not having a seat at tables where like it's predominantly white spaces, let's say, right? Or men space or with
Mhm.
males. But it's interesting because right here you're saying like even some Latino organizations maybe or some spaces could have been yours, but they still didn't make a seat for you, right? Like, como que de
Yes.
todos modos, aunque you could have been part of that, there was this
Hmm.
other thanness that was created. And I think I want to name it because it's just interesting to keep in mind that, like, obviously, right now we're seeing at a huge scale this other thanness when it comes to our race, right, and color of our skin, etc. But it's good to also recognize like we do it in our own family units, we do it immediate family, cousins, tios, etc. And then unfortunately too when we create community. And so if we're going to say like community is really important and being united is really important, then I think this is important to know, right? There is work to be done even internally. And yes, externally
Yes.
it's horrible and yet there's a lot to be done within our own people, right? Yeah.
You you nailed it, and you literally brought my past experiences into relevancy now because literally like it's what we're seeing, let's call it what it we're seeing the racism, whether it's internalized,
Mhm.
whether it's from los mismos hispanos y latinos. Like I'm not going to try to get political, but when you vote for a certain way, you're
Yeah.
basically saying, oh, we're different, not
Right.
us, them. And that's wild.
Yeah.
That's so wild because it's like, well, they're going for the criminals. It's like, no, they're not. And you are saying that you were okay as long as it didn't happen to your family. And our
Mhm.
families are the biggest hypocrites porque we can talk shit to each other, but don't let someone else come in and talk shit because then all of a sudden we are united, right? Like, so these othernesses occur, but then they create an intersectionality within you. You have to
Mhm.
split and you have to be de aquí y de allá. And
Mhm.
that is something I had to learn that was a lesson I wasn't ready for, that I was like, okay. And when I got to my graduate program, it I found they put a name to it, and it's when we code switch. So
Mm.
I had to learn to talk a certain way because of my career, but I'm not forgetting who I am or where I come from. So it's code
Right.
switching. So even then we have split our personalities
Mhm.
based on our environment.
Mhm.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, yeah. And
Like,
I think like for some time I was like I want to dare to believe that I don't ever have to code switch. But
mm,
it all I think like maybe the last couple of years it felt that way until not, right? And I also recognized that I was moving away from the spaces that I did feel like I had to code switch from. It's a horrible feeling, honestly. Like yes, we can get used to it, but then like we're not being our authentic self, we're being something different. I talk about my dream job on this podcast. So like when I got my dream job, which was HR consulting, right? That was like
mhm,
the highest that I was like, oh my God, I thought it was going to take me 20 years to get to that point. When I got there and I had small business owners that were white, and this is my dream job where I want to prove that I can do a good job and that I can keep my clients happy. And then I hear them talk about my people in a racist way. It's like my integrity that it starts to like my system starts to, se empieza a descomponer because then it's like, wait, this is what I
you
really wanted.
Yeah,
And then
and
this is
it's
like, it's not what I thought it would be, like, so what, do I jeopardize everything that it took to get here, or do I ignore it? So yeah, I don't know, like, I imagine there's so many scenarios where you experience similar.
it is, and maybe for me, it's not so much a matter of integrity because being in education, like it's more like having to watch how we talk or how we even want to address certain situations because it's like okay, you have to be in that professional setting. And so I understand that, right? Like a teacher's not going to be telling a kid like you're out your damn mind every now and then. Yes, and it is acceptable because the kid might be out of his damn mind, okay, or her. But so for me, I guess I am lucky in that it's not so much a matter of integrity. It's just a matter of having to dim my bright personality to be
Mm,
more professional. But even then though, like I can't even tell you las veces que siento que me estoy ahogando because it's like you're dealing with people and you can say it professionally and you do, but sometimes like you want to take it to a level where they're really going to understand you. And sometimes it's okay to not be okay. Like it's okay that we're just like, you know what, I have to let this go because you're not worth everything that I've freaking worked
mm,
for.
mm-hmm.
You're not going to cost me my career. And
Got it.
I've had those moments. And same with you. I can't even imagine how you're like, yo, like I'm here trying to work with you. Like for you, like I would
Mm-hmm.
think that it'd be more like la rabia that you're just like
Yeah.
like are we really, going through that?
Yeah. Well, I think, like, for me, it was a surprise that people really normalized it so much that they felt that they could just openly speak that way, and openly express themselves in that way. And I think because maybe right away some people can't tell, right, that I'm like, I don't know, I guess some people can't tell that I'm Latina. So maybe they thought, oh, like this isn't impacting her. But for me, there were moments where I didn't speak up, and there were a lot of moments where I was in my head debating, like, wait, what am I supposed to do in this scenario? Like, is it my job to speak up? Because basically, like in consulting, you have small businesses that pay like a retainer, right, for you. So like their monthly payments. And so if I were to like debate, maybe I lose the client, and then that
Hmm.
impacts like my performance, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it's like, I think I've heard this from other people también, like the debate. I'm mentoring, and I'm going to refer her to this conversation because I think she might find it interesting. I'm mentoring a student a high school student who just went into college, and she got a scholarship for for the university that she's going to, but the scholarship is through this program that is like, she's, I think, one of the only Latinas in there. Um,
Hmm.
and she's feeling all the feels, right? She's like, thanks to this scholarship, I get to be here, but also I feel not comfortable here, and there's just like all of the things. So I think it's very relevant for so many people. So yeah, thank you for bringing this topic to, like, or letting us discuss this topic and the different layers of it, that can come up
Yes. No,
as you move into
absolutely. And
it.
is it not ironic because it's just like when you think about it, you're like, I'm not simply Mexican, I'm not Mexican American, no soy nomás una mujer. There's so many layers to us that again, thanks to my therapist. Thank you, therapist. Um, you start to unpack and you start to peel back that layer. And for me, like really that's where I say like returning to ourselves because it's like we have to understand that that journey is going to take us on these side quests and that sometimes it's okay that sometimes we have to play the game,
Mm,
and it's
mhm.
how far are we playing. And I when I would be faced with these situations like in college too, I took it as a learning experience. I'm like, let me learn,
Okay.
let me see, let me observe. And maybe because I was in psychology, like, you're taking different classes and you're seeing people's perspectives. For me, I started learning, be like, okay, so others think this way. So then mental note, let me keep an eye out because if I experience this again, it means something. or I now know
Mm,
how to react to those people. And
okay.
so for me, like just thinking let me put it to you. You just brought up a memory. Senior year, my last class at Redlands during or either it was my last class or my last semester, I can't remember. And I was taking ballet folklorico. And we took it
Mm.
because we're like, it's gonna be an easy A. Okay. And so it's different undergraduates, but it was all ages because people are on different parts of their journey. So me 21 20 was like 21 22 taking this class. There
Mhm.
might be like a 36-year-old who came back to get their degree.
Okay, yeah.
Mind you, we're in ballet folklorico, okay, Mexican class, and some guy makes a ridiculous comment about something. And I remember like about illegals. And
Mm.
this is circa 2004, 2005. And I remember being in the class, and my best friend, she's white. She looks at me, she's like, and I was I said, let me give you a history of illegals in this country because based on your skin color, I'm going to assume, and this is where I went. He went low and I went to hell for this, okay? Because I was like,
Okay.
well, based on your last name, I'm guessing that, your family may have been at the time considered below slaves. So you were even cheaper labor than slaves, right? And I had just learned this in history. That's why I used it. Where we're
Mm.
learning about this, how slave owners, like they did, they would have their slaves, but then there was a group of people that were considered even below slaves, right? And I said,
Wow.
look at where you're at. You're literally in a Mexican ballet folklorico class, and you make a comment about illegals in this country when this is Mexican land. You are
Yeah.
literally standing on Mexican land, but you aren't even from these lands to begin with. And I remember, and the professor looked at me and I was like, I'm about to get kicked out of this class. Pero no me la podía tragar. Even back then, no me la tragaba. I was like, you're not going to come at us sideways because you're okay with taking this class because you think it's going to be easy. So it's fitting your agenda,
Right.
but then you're going to say something ignorant. And I can only imagine that that's what experience as a consultant. And the professor literally looked at him. She was like, "Your comment was out of place." She was like, and she actually is correct. She was like, "We're not going to get into your ethnicity. We're not going to get into it." She was like, "Mind your comments." She was like, "You're literally a lot older than them." Again,
Mm.
he had to be late 30s, even older. Okay, and she looked at him
Mhm.
and she was like, "But it's a shame how you think."
Right.
It's a shame like that you have those thoughts. And I can and it brings me back to this time and peeling back the layers of when we learn how to speak up or when we have to like not speak up. But either way,
Yeah.
we're banking those things. We bank it. You bank it,
Right.
and then you just
Exactly.
observe. So if there's anything that I could recommend to you, to the student you're mentoring, is like, it may feel super heavy. Just sit back and observe, bank it for later because you really
Mm.
might be learning a lot more from this situation than you would have thought.
Mhm. Ooh, I think, maybe it's a controversial topic or to like you said it como sometimes you have to play the game. And I've thought of it in explaining it to her in that way, and then a part of me holds back because I recognize like that also has layers to it, right? Like, because I don't know. Okay, I want to like maybe I feel like it's a good relevant topic, but like she is explaining, this person said this and this person like so she's in an era where she's entering college and she's seeing all the things, like she's being exposed to different people's way of thinking, way of expressing, and there's a part of me that's like good, like that's beautiful that you notice and you can tell that there's something wrong with this. But there's a part of her that is maybe like so young and like tiene tanta energía that she wants to respond to everything. And there's a part of me that's like, yeah, we should be responding to everything. And another part of me that's like, it benefits you in your situation to keep the scholarship, let's say, to quote unquote play the
Yes.
game, because otherwise you're going to be in where you were at before the scholarship, which was you might not go to college, you might not be, and so it's like, like so much, right? Like como the tug of war, pues, between,
Yes.
yeah, between these
And and
realities.
and let's I like to call it like that was just a different personality that I had to create. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Because I knew the repercussions of getting too much. And even now in my job, it's like I know that there's only so far that I can go. And as an educator, like I've been a high school counselor, in the counselor high school setting. I work with foster youth right now. And so my job, there's a lot of
Okay.
red tape and we have to work with
Mm-hmm.
people and you try to be kind. I've gotten counselors that are like, I'm so sorry. I'm new to this position. I wasn't trained on this. And it's like, hey, not a problem. But just so you know, and then I'll send them information stuff, right? Like, let me teach you
Mm-hmm.
because I've been in that position. But then you get people that want to kind of attack you, and then you start to escalate, and they escalate. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
still learning I love Michelle Obama. And she said, when they
Mm-hmm.
go low, we go high. And I used to swear by that because I was like, I'm going to be the better person. I'm in my Cardi B phase where if they go low, I'm going to hell. Okay. Pero mira, I've gotten my degrees. I'm in my career and I've learned. And I know when to not take it too far. But all of these things and experiences that I had to go through that I've been banking
Yeah.
do help prepare me for these situations. And it is controversial because it's like, okay, te la vas a tragar. For right now, yes. Yes.
Mm.
And it's like with my foster youth, I tell them, play the game. We have something called extended foster care or independent living program. If they stay in this program after they turn 18, they get a monthly stipend that can go
Mm.
towards rent. And they're like, well, I just don't want to be checking in and being monitored, que no sé qué, que no sé cuánto. And I'm like, okay, but you tell me you're going to go to school, right? They're like, yeah. Wouldn't you rather have an extra $1,000 in your pocket every month simply by checking in with your social worker once a month? Because now you can
Mm.
pay for the dorms? And they're like, oh, I said, play the game. You get a free computer, you get extra support, you get to be in these programs, you're learning. What's so wrong with it? You're mad at the
Mm-hmm.
system, play the system. ¿Verdad?
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's the only way that I've been able to justify having to tragarme a lot of stuff in the work environment. Because it's like, okay, because it's not that I'm not going to let people walk over me because it's like, it's okay to be like, oh, you know what, this conversation isn't for me or this scenario isn't for me. Thank you. I'm going to exit left.
I like what you said, though. It's like we're adding to our bank, nuestro little piggy bank of knowledge, of strategy, of like comeback. So I like that. Okay, we're
Yes.
gonna start wrapping up this episode so we can get to part two. Um, is there something that you're like, I want to make sure that I mention it in this part that I didn't ask you about? I know we kind of went a little bit everywhere, but ground us, bring us back to something that you're like, I need to talk about this.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me because this is a great experience. I think that the more that you can get people's experiences out there, you never know who can relate to it. And I always
Yeah,
tell people if you remember one
yeah.
thing, put it in the back of your mind, and that triggers so many memories because you're like, okay, you know, and that's really what it's about. And, being first gen, being, Hispanic or Latina, and having to go through some of the things that like I've been through, I will say that like choose wisely. I'll say this because we, I think,
Mm,
are so conditioned to give and give and give and keep going and keep pushing through. And if we could just work a little bit harder, everything's going to get
right.
better. And I internalized that belief so much in my relationship that with this recent one that we were together for almost 3 years, I wasn't paying attention to the red flags because I was so caught up in working and being fucking carrying it
Mm,
down and keeping it down for us that I think it's really something that we have to unlearn. And I say that from my most innermost being is like, Don't ever, ever pour into someone else's cup that cannot give you the bare minimum. Whether it's a
Oof.
job, you're so replaceable. If it's a relationship, if it's a friendship, those have been the hardest things for me, but I'm so thankful. Now I'm thankful for the experience of what happened in my last relationship because I'm so loyal, I would never have left. But why are we killing ourselves to be
Mm-hmm.
loyal? ¿Para qué? ¿Para qué?
Yeah.
So if there's anything, it's like, and I do think that it has a lot to do with maybe how we're raised, the unspoken rules that you're there for family and family is blood. I have a sister I don't talk to. Haven't talked to her in over 5 years. Don't get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
If I could cut off my sister, I could cut off a man. If I could cut off my sister, if I could cut off a man, I could cut off a friendship. Why? And sometimes we are to blame. So it's also taking reflecting into your accountability. Is Was it something that you did or said or who you are that may have contributed to this? And a lot of times it's who we are, meaning that we accept so little for ourselves because we're so busy giving so
Mm-hmm.
much to others to prove who we are. So that's one thing I
Yeah.
would like to say. And I do believe that it is a, a first gen thing that we have so much to prove. Que a veces nos perdemos.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. But nos perdemos in trying to prove to someone who can't even see what we're trying to
Yeah,
prove, who can't even receive what we're trying to give. So, whew,
that one. And it's
powerful.
discernment. Bitch. Seriously. Like, notice if they cannot comprehend what you're saying, they're not accepting nor receiving. So why are you staying and trying?
Yeah.
Because girl, I was that ride or die that I said, he's potential. He's just working through himself and he's now in therapy and we're no longer raising men or women, whatever you
Yeah,
are. You could be
please.
LGBTQ. If you're a woman who dates women, it's not your job to raise them. It is their job to be your
Yeah.
partner and vice versa. Stop raising adult people. No más. Raise yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking raise ourselves first.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I want to ask you some resource questions. Like, as you were navigating, you navigated a lot over the last couple of years, right? But I want to ask you, for example, is there a book that you read that stands out to you as like, this was helpful in my journey as I was reclaiming parts of myself, as I was, finding my way back to me again? A book, it can be a movie or a podcast, algo that you're like, this was so good for me.
So there was a book, and I'm not gonna lie, I freaking hated reading this, but I was reading it for my dissertation. And it's called The
Okay.
Body Keeps the Score. The Body Keeps the Score.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And I was reading it academically, meeting, okay, like, okay, I gotta find where they're doing their research. And I was like, wait a minute. The body keeps the score. The body keeps the score. Our bodies are telling us when shit is not right. I was getting
Mm,
migraines. I was depressed in my marriage. Girl, I've lost like 70 pounds since initiating like the
mm,
separation divorce. Okay.
mm-hmm.
Our bodies are keeping the trauma that we internalize because we're not speaking up and we're not working through our issues. That was a game changer for me. Music for me also, Karol G. I didn't know it at the time.
Ooh.
I didn't know it. Pero mañana será bonito. I literally have that tattooed.
Mm. Oh,
Mañana
you
será bonito, and I have.
do.
Sorry, let me see if you can, because this is my daughter's, and I say all three of them, the plural. You can't even see it. Hold on. Let me get, okay, we're just gonna go. We're gonna get dizzy a little bit. Let me see. Can you see?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
So my rain cloud with my sunshine, and it's gonna create a rainbow. And all three of my daughters, they love it.
Mm.
Okay, they love it. And it's because you're gonna go through it, but you have to go through it to get through it, and it's gonna be so much better. So for me, it would be books, rewatching the Harry Potter movies, and then my spiritual journey. I'm not even gonna lie. Is I started getting into what people call the woo woo shit, the brujeria, um, tarot cards or oracle cards, my healing stones, really learning about them. So it was these combinations of things, but at the end of it was unlearning to get what happens in the home stays in the home. How many times are we told, oh, we don't talk about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I'm mad and I'm going to talk about it. I'm hurt and I'm going to talk about it. Like I went through abuse that I didn't even know about it, and I'm going to talk about it because the next person might not recognize it. I have a psych degree and I could not recognize narcissism,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Because of these layers, right? Like, and that's beautiful to name too. Like, a veces we're so hard on ourselves, but there's so much to it. There's so much conditioning that has to go away. There's so much inner strength that has to come through. Like, it's a combination of things that have to work
Yeah.
together for us to be able to do the things. So, yeah.
Yes. So all of that.
Woo. So, part two, we're going to dive into that a little bit more, right? We're going to talk
Yes.
about what it is like being an empath, highly sensitive in a world where maybe it doesn't fully operate from those rules and standards and experiences. So, I'm excited. You guys stay tuned for that part two. And any last words, Miriam, before we close today's episode out? A little mensajito for the first gens, and then they can go listen to part two because that one's going to be juicy también.
Um, if there's one thing I'm proud of is that I am who I am. And I've always been misunderstood and I've always been quirky. Don't apologize for it. Don't
Mm,
apologize because we as first gen have to go through so many different journeys and levels to get where we're going. But don't ever apologize for who you are. Like it, and I was always made to feel like I'm just too much. And for many years I believed it. But you'll be just enough or you'll be the right amount of enough for someone. And it's okay. It's truly okay.
beautiful. Thank you so much. You
Thank
guys, if you
you.
enjoyed this episode, please share it with your amigas, amigos, amigas, those people that maybe you know are navigating higher ed también or are in corporate
Oh, yes.
environments so they can listen and be like, yes, I'm going through that. So please make sure you share it. And remember, first gen, that I love you, I love me, and I can't wait for you to love yourself. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye.